Good morning and happy Friday to everyone, and welcome to the Free Friday Coaching Call. Just as a reminder about how these calls got started, the wonderful and amazing Rick Jiha used to tell everyone, if you need something, just call me. And over time, that became unsustainable. And so he started Rick's Free Friday coaching calls, which allowed us to have the opportunity to connect with as many agents as we could and give back to the agent community. And that has grown and transformed over the years to having amazing speakers come on and bring their wisdom. We have folks from all walks of life, all levels of leadership, all levels of production, all kinds of opportunities to speak with people who are amazing about sharing their knowledge with us. And so I'm very excited to welcome back today relationship coach Jeff Rogers. Some of you may have seen him on our last Free Friday coaching call, and I know a lot of people watch them after the fact. Jeff has been helping people, business leaders, and individuals achieve higher levels of success since 1994. He's a keynote speaker, a corporate trainer, and a results coach. He happens to be Casey's coach. She shared that the last time that she was on. He understands and values relationships as a tremendous asset in the business. And he asked a very powerful question, which is what we talked about last time, which are we building a relational business or are we just running transactions? Very excited to welcome him back today, and especially on this particular topic where technology meets human connection. Jeff and I had a very fun grounding call yesterday because many of you know I'm very, very much attached to my technology. So I'm really looking forward to a very interactive conversation today. So welcome back, Jeff. Welcome
We're
back.
going to spar today, aren't we?
Yes, we are. We're
We're
gonna
going to spar.
spar.
I
We're
want
gonna
to
make
remind you, you almost cried yesterday.
I did. I did. I
Yes.
do want to
Okay.
tell you, I like literally started and I was like, no, there will be no crying today.
There will be no crying.
So welcome back. Jeff, I'd like to start because I'm sure that most of the folks here utilize technology quite a bit, and we're all having to learn to embrace it even more and more. I shared yesterday, this is my 30th year in real estate. So when I started, real estate looked very different, right? We
Hmm.
just didn't have all of this that we have to know and do and learn. And today it's such a huge part of what we do in our business. So the very first question I have is, where do you see the biggest disconnection between the use of technology and the relationship that we're building with clients and fellow agents?
Well, I'll say the biggest one I see probably is within the personal world, and that's on the couch, at the kitchen table, uh, in restaurants. You see a complete disconnect of people. And it's funny to me is I look at how my son's getting married in June, and I look at how he met his fiance on a dating site. Okay. So we're even using technology to date. We use it to attract time. And I want to be really clear today. I'm not here to be an anti-technology guy. Yes, I live out in the sticks of North Idaho, and yes, I actually do live 45 minutes from my grocery store. It's not like there isn't one 10 minutes down the road. It's just not the one my wife likes to use. The produce isn't great, stuff like that. But it's funny to me is where I see it in business, and quite honestly, it's a lot of the work I do was quite honestly, and thank you, was came from the real estate field because of the way real estate agents have become. Brand has become less important, and the individual has become more important. And just so you know, I've worked with real estate agents for a long time. I live with one who isn't practicing right now, but my wife is an EXP agent, okay, and she was for quite a while. My wife is very transactional. She loved being like a transaction coordinator and that stuff. She's not real salesy. She loves people. She just doesn't like to ask them for things. And she always got like into this weird place about how she was asking people for something. And I kept trying to tell her how brilliant her sales style was. Because my wife is very nurturing. She's very, when she gets a client, I know some of you can relate to this. She just really pours everything about her into it. She just, the reports that she'll write, the things that she'll do for clients is off the charts. Um, and she's brilliant at it. She just hates going out and getting business. So, um, and believe it or not, because she's so personal, as technical as she is, she really struggled with the technology of actually using that to get clients.
Mm.
doing video, showing up in places like this, doing stuff like that. So, first thing I want to say is I'm not an anti-technology guy. Clearly, we're using technology today. You know, I got one of these, and yes, it's probably with me more than I like. I'm one of the rare individuals who likes to leave this at home a lot. In fact, my wife's out of town right now. And one of the things I like to do is go out on my boat by myself. And my wife was like, please take your phone and please turn on your location services so she can make sure if something's happened, she can find my body on the lake or something. I don't know what she's looking for there, but it's, you know,
Comfort. It's comfort, Jeff. She's looking for comfort.
well, I got to be honest with you. I didn't even know it was on one day, and I was going through my phone, and I'm like, "What is this like thing?" And she goes, "Well, I turned it on," and I'm like, "What are you spying on me? Like this is weird, you know? Like we've been married for 32 years, and I'm like, do you really need to know where I'm at every moment?" And she was like, "Well,
Yes.
it just gives me comfort," and I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of weird, you know." And I'm, by the way, the head over heels in love, guys. Like before I met her, still, and it's like. I just it just seemed odd to me that someone would want to track where I'm at, you know, but I get the idea. So, anyways. So I would say the biggest disconnect is that we've gotten very, very used to sending text messages, okay? And there's challenges with this, sending text messages, shooting it off in an email, connecting through Zoom, which is great. And we'll talk about different ways that we can use that and enhance things. But we're starting to lean more into technology. And you know, with the advent of AI and those types of things, I mean, now we have AI salespeople. Okay, we've got literally companies are employing, you know, AI salespeople. I see a huge downfall in it, and I don't know if anyone can tell. Since COVID, customer service kind of took a dive. I mean, you go into a restaurant anymore and it's hard to even get people to look at you. So I think that technology has its great points, and I definitely want to highlight some of those great points because we all use them. At the same time, what's happening is it's making it easier for us to pull away and lean more into the technology than it is to lean into the personal relationships. And it's probably because what's beating over our head is time, 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 time. Like you ordered donuts on DoorDash today through an app. I donut DoorDash. I like that's got to be a brand. Um, and we're able to get donuts delivered to you. You know, the problem with those things is they get in your mouth. Okay. That's the problem with donuts is when they get in my mouth and they get on my, yeah. So I would say that's where I see it the most. You know, real estate agents, getting a real estate agent to return a call, and I'm sure nobody on this call reflects this at all, but getting a real estate agent to return a phone call. I used to tell my wife a real estate agent would not walk across the street to pee on me if I was on fire unless I had a listing contract in my hand. Okay. They might stop and pause for a moment if I had probably just enough to grab the contract and then take off. But it was very, in my experience, real estate agents are over challenged with two things. One is they don't typically communicate well, and I think it's actually bred into the culture of your business. Okay. The second one is they will leap and ditch whatever it is that's going on the moment a client needs them,
Mm. We talked
and we
about
use
this
a
yesterday.
various amounts. And so they don't have any. And one of the things we talked about, I want to talk about today is boundaries and how we set boundaries around our relationship with our clients, how we can use technology to enforce those boundaries. But when we go, part of those boundaries should be how we communicate with our people, and there should be a boundary with technology as well.
I, for those of you that don't know, we did a grounding call yesterday, and I don't know that it went the way that Jeff wanted it to go or the way that I wanted it to go
I thought
because,
it was awesome.
and I was sharing it with Casey this morning, and I was like, "You told Jeff how much I like technology," and she said, "Yes, yes, I did," and it was interesting to see from my perspective. And Jeff, I'll just share a little bit about this yesterday that we had the
Please do.
conversation. It was that I feel like I use technology in an effort to make me more relational right now. And he kind of opened my eyes to some different things and some different boundaries. But like I utilize things so that I can be more face to face on Zoom like this throughout the day. So I have things reading my emails and watching my meetings and things like that. However, Jeff did tell me, he was like, there's no boundaries, right? Because as a result of that, I'm more responsive than ever, because it's reminding me to be responsive. And I chose it for that purpose, right?
Mhm.
Because I have so many different, well, and we all do, right? I was explaining to him yesterday, I'm like, we have email, and we have text message, and we have Slack, and we have WhatsApp, and we have Click, and we have all of these different things that are bombarding us all day long, and you have to attempt to be as responsive as possible. And Jeff, I absolutely agree. I think the majority of agents are terrible at responding. I am
Hmm.
just getting back into real estate sales and reaching out to agents last week. Not one of them responded to a text message or an email about 1.5, $1.7 million listings. And
Hmm.
I'm like, do you not want to sell it? I don't know. Do you just not want to see? You don't want to sell? So,
Right.
Jeff, I think it's interesting because I feel like we attach ourselves to technology in an effort to be better at what we do. And sometimes it really pulls us away from the actual thing.
Well, like one of the things you just brought up is it actually creates distance. Okay. So like one of the things I teach in communication is I teach the idea of battle theory. Okay. So I mean, right now, I mean, even look at the fact that we have a war going on right now. Okay. And we can watch it on TV. We can see everything that's going on in the battlefield. We can see actual missiles hitting stuff. And how do we feel about it? We're desensitized to it. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. And the reason for it is if you ever seen the movie Braveheart, you see this happen. Okay, in Braveheart, you get two armies and they line up on either sides of a field, and before the battle starts, they would go down and they would meet. These things actually used to happen in old times. Okay, and what they would do is they would discuss terms. Okay, what are the terms of this battle? How are we going to do this? Or what can we figure out here that keeps us from having this battle? All
Mm.
right. The reason they did that, because in those days, to go to battle, you went with a sword, you went with knives, we didn't have guns, okay? Maybe there were some cannons, okay, but there weren't actual guns. So you would go into physical battle. When you did that to actually kill someone, cut their head off, if you will, it was a messy, okay, it would splash all over you. It was exhausting because you had to look all over. It was stressful, okay, and it literally wrecked people, okay, and all kinds of, I mean, to do that, you would have to be mentally prepared. Can you imagine mentally preparing every day to go out and kill somebody? All right. I mean, the mere thought of us today kind of bothers us. All right. So, how does this apply to communication? I can take you. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, outside Las Vegas, Nevada, in Indian Springs, a place called Creech Air Force Base. There's three huge buildings there. And in those buildings, they house the flight crews for the majority of the drones that are flying on the planet, okay, for the United States. All right. They can literally sit in a room, drop a bomb on somebody, okay, obliterate a village, go eat lunch, come back, do a couple more, and go home and put their kids to bed. Completely desensitized from the battle. So do you see the difference between that? So one of the things that technology does, especially with your customers, is it provides them the ability to cut your head off without even feeling anything. Whereas if we're sitting in their presence, okay, when we're connected with someone, the idea of firing you or telling you no is a much harder thing to do than it is to send you a text message. And like, how many people here have ever been broken up with over text message? Has that ever happened to anyone? Mandy's laughing. She's like, well, how many times? Like, how many do you want to talk about? Okay. Or how many of you have ever broken up with someone over a text message or a phone call or something like that? It made it easier to do because we didn't have to sit in their presence. So when we are using technology, not only does it make it easier for us to disconnect from the situation. Okay. When you say to people, I called you 5 times. Oh, I didn't get that message. It's very easy to use that as a reason not to be connected with people. And
Yeah.
it makes it easier to cut your head off. So we will lose more clients when we're using technology. It takes us longer to connect and it's harder to connect. But once we do make that connection, it's so much easier to maintain that connection because now we're personally vested and this person has a body that I'm talking to and a person that I'm talking to as opposed to a phone or a Zoom call.
So you're you're reminding me of something we spoke about yesterday, and it came up on the last time we had you on the Free Friday coaching call, which was how difficult it is in today's technology world. Like we talked about the fact that years ago, when Those of us that used to like talk to our best friends or our boyfriends on a phone that was connected by a cord to the wall and
Cord.
stretch it just as far as you could to get any kind of privacy to have a conversation, and remembering how hard it was to get that. And now we're so available
Hmm.
everywhere we go and in so many different ways to find balance and boundaries in that, because the expectation is that we are that available. And I even shared with Jeff yesterday, it was like a week or so ago, I was so frustrated and I was like, that's it. I'm out. I'm going to go work at Target. I'm going to stock shelves. I'm going to go like be a cog in the wheel and be like, and then when I go home, nobody's going to call me
Hmm.
and ask me to stock shelves, right? Because
Right.
you know that when you're done working, you're not done working. And Jeff did clearly identify that that was a boundary. But
Yes.
what do you suggest in the world that we're in, where the expectation is that we're so available and in so many ways? What do you suggest that we do in that instance?
Well, the first thing is that we have to first, I believe in accountability. Okay. So the two big concepts that I work with people on is number one is accountability. All right. And accountability isn't about fault, guilt, blame, and shame. It's not about who's the bad person or who did something wrong. It's literally about choice. Okay. What are the choices we're making and the choices we're not making that are creating the result we're getting right now? I would highly suggest everybody write that down. Okay. One of the problems with expectation is when we're in expectation, it's because we're emotionally connected to the result. And when we don't get that result, we have an emotional reaction to it. Okay. So the reason you're frustrated, upset, angry, stuff like that is because you're sitting in expectation. When we're operating from what we want, I want to talk to Selena. When that doesn't happen, instead of processing it with emotions, I'm processing it objectively. And when I'm processing it objectively, I can see it for what it is. When I'm in emotions, I'm stuck. When I can see things for what they are, I can get creative. I can solve problems. I can get, drive solution, and I can figure out another way to communicate. But when I'm stuck in my emotions of it, Selena didn't show up for me today. Okay, now I'm upset with you, which is another thing that interferes with relationships. So we have the emotional connection with people. And when we don't get what we want, it starts to break down relationships. So the question I would ask is what kind of quote unquote expectations are you setting for the people around you, around how you communicate in those things? Because who set up this whole pattern of communication with you? And by the way,
Very funny.
I knew Rick very well. I trained Rick. Okay. He was in one of my classes and we worked together for a long time. Um, and one of the things that I learned from Rick is if you need something, call me. Like if you coached with me after every call, I would say, hey, if you get stuck and you're struggling, pick up the phone and call me. It's something I provide my clients. It's a part of what I do that's different. Okay. And people always ask me, well, how can you do that? Well, I do it for two reasons. Number one, I don't pack my day so full of things that I can't manage a call or two in the middle of it. And by the way, sometimes people call me, believe it or not, at 11 o'clock at night. And I've been known to get up and answer those calls. All right. Because I don't want my clients to struggle. So people at the other reason I can do it is because most people won't call. When they're
Right.
stuck and they're struggling, it's like, oh, I don't want to bother someone, or oh, I don't want to, I don't want to get in the middle of whatever he's doing. Oh, this is his time. Now, why do they feel that way? Is because they know that I do have boundaries. My kid he was a pitcher in college, and I told people flat out, if my kid is pitching and I'm watching, I'm not going to pick up the phone. But assure them that when I do get a break, and if you have to wait 2 hours for me, that's rare, I will call you back. And I actually pick up the phone and physically call them. So we actually have a voice conversation where we can have context, okay, where we can have content, where we can have some sort of a connection. Now, obviously, we create that here, but keep in mind, we're also limited here. I FaceTime, like how many of you right now are answering emails or looking at a text message you just got, going through your phone right now? Notice some people aren't on here because they're probably fiddling around at their desk or they're doing stuff. This is a technology, but it's breaking our relationship right now. Make sense? So the first question I got is that who set up the way you communicate? Who made that choice?
We did.
Yes. So, can we be more effective with our technology and use that to enhance our relationship with people rather than creating blockages or boundaries or challenges within the relationship? And the truth is yes. Okay.
Something you said midway through that, because I made myself a note to ask you, and I'm sure this is a question that agents on this call have. In our industry, we've been told for many years how
Mm-hmm.
important speed to lead is, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a lead comes in,
Yep.
an instant response. Drop everything else that you're doing and
Yeah,
grab
those
that.
email leads that don't amount to anything for the most part. You mean those people that go on the thing and they put in their information because that's the only way they're going to get to see the house that's listed there. And so the second they do that, it pings an agent somewhere. And the eight, by the way, because there's 9 agents in the pool, I got to be the first one. So I'm sitting there waiting, like in anticipation, 5 cups of coffee in, and bing, it goes off, and you start hammering keys, and they never respond to you. 99.9% of them.
I'm
Is
glad
that
we're
what
on the
you're
same
talking
page.
about?
Yes. So, for those of you that don't know, and I know a lot of you already on this call, I'm also a master coach in real estate, and it's so fascinating to me because we are trained that we
Hmm.
coach it all the time, speed to lead, speed to
Hmm.
lead, speed to lead. And I taught our sales meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was based on an article from NAR. And guys, this is very interesting, and it's important for you to pay attention to. It was that speed to lead is no longer the most important thing. Real estate leads are most responsive to the agents who stuck with them and continued to give them value each time they reached out. Like it wasn't a, are you interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate? It was actually in developing a relationship by giving them
Hmm.
value. And it was the people who'd stayed the longest, not the person who reached out to them within 30 seconds of the lead coming in. Like
Cool.
we've never been told that.
Mm-mm.
It's always been drop everything you're doing and call them right now.
Okay, so let's see if we can get people to turn on their mics and participate for a second. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I want everybody on the call to think about someone that you think was successful. Maybe it's someone who impacted your life. Okay, in your version of success, it could be someone who was extremely wealthy. This could be your mom because she was always home when you came home from school. Okay, it could be a favorite aunt. It could be someone famous. Okay, someone that you would think is successful. All right, you got a picture of somebody you would think is successful? I'm going to write these down, by the way. Okay. So when you think about this person, what was it about them that makes them successful? Okay, think about them. What was it about them that they think is okay? So I'm going to use my guy. I'm going to use as my old boss. My last job, I worked for somebody else. I was in my 20s. I worked at a rock and roll radio station in Vegas. It was a blast. It was one of the funnest jobs I ever had. I worked for a guy, Tony Benici. Okay, and one of the things I used to say, my dad would say this, is he fell in a pile of poop and came out smelling like a rose. Okay. Tony was always positive. No matter what was going on, he always had this positive attitude that anything was solvable, anything could happen. And no matter what's going on, he was super positive. So I'm going to write down positive because Tony was positive. Okay. All right. Give me something. You guys now turn on your mics. Don't be shy. Okay. It's just one word, 1 or 2 words. You don't have to you didn't get up this morning and get ready. You don't have to show your face, but let me hear from some of you. What made them successful?
Relentless.
Relentless. Okay. Okay, we got one. Come on, Debbie, with those glasses, you got to have someone you think is successful. she's
Consistent.
she's on a phone call.
Oh,
Consistent.
her computer's freezing. That's what's happening.
Oh, I see. I was gonna say she's on a phone call. That's
Okay, so
awesome.
consistent.
You know what? I'll use Rick Jiha available
Yeah, that's a
emotionally
good
and
one.
physically.
Yep. Good listener.
Good listener. Wow, not too many successful people in the world.
Oh, Debbie wrote, they have what I want.
Okay. So they were an example. Would that fit, Debbie? Cool. I can't see. Oh, I could turn the chat on. Duh.
Talent
Talent. What's that mean? Talent. How are they talented?
uh means they have a gift to that not many people have, like, they can excel at it, at whatever they put their mind to, like instruments or singing, drawing, painting. Uh, it takes, what was the quote is, um, artist was asked to do something. He did it in like 3 minutes. Uh, and he was charging like, let's call it $5,000 or whatever. And like, oh, you did it in 3 minutes. Why am I paying you $5,000? Well, you're not accounting for the 20 years it took me to do it in three minutes.
Right. So they were also committed to whatever their talent was, whatever their task was, they were committed to that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's something they innately enjoy. Like I was a computer animator for 30 years.
Oh,
I
cool.
I never worked a day in my life because
Awesome.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And now you're doing real estate.
Well, I got burnt out, and here I am.
And you chose real estate.
Anything you love can be a burden.
Yes, it can. That's for sure. Okay, so let's just look at what we got. We got positive, relentless, consistent, available, listener, example, talented, committed.
Creative.
Okay. And creative. Okay, creative. Okay, so how did you have that experience? Because none of that truly speaks to how good they were with technology, or they used the phone every day, or they did. What was it that created that experience for you? It was the relationship that you created with them was based around how they showed up. In other words, what was their true value? Was the true value that they called you every day? Was the true value that they did something for you every day? Was the true value that you got an email or a text message or any of that stuff? No, the true value was in their beingness. So when we are remembered, what are we gonna be remembered for? These are the things that people are going to remember. So when people speak of you, what would they say? Wow, he was really good at sitting on the end of the couch on his cell phone ignoring me. They're probably not going to do that, correct?
I hope not.
I hope not. So again, what's the point to the conversation is that where our true value is in our beingness and our presence and how we show up. Can we use technology to enhance that? Yes, but what's happening and we're seeing in it, and we're seeing it in, it's crazy when you go out and you look around that this is even impacting the way we learn or take on information. Like, who wants to be the best agent you can possibly be? I'm sure everybody here wants to raise their hand. Okay, I don't want, well, no one picks, well, I want to be the worst agent, but we want to be the best. Okay, well, our learning is a huge part of that. Yes, because the business is continually moving and flowing. But because of the way technology is affecting our life, and because by majority, everything that we're getting is through algorithm. I mean, everyone on this call can attest to the fact that you had a conversation with someone about it, and 10 minutes later, you picked up your phone and there was an ad for it. Okay, so we are actually fed through technology our own biases, things that we like. And what they're seeing in colleges and universities is it's limiting learning because people are so attuned to and so unconsciously in their bias that it's shutting their mind off to learning other things. So, how many of you know that just your learning, like there's things we talk about, like I said, turn your microphone on, and people were like, I'm not turning my microphone on. Oh my gosh, I can't do that. We're totally closed off to certain things because what we're actually conditionally being fed through technology. Like one of the things I coach I coach couple, I do personal relationship coaching as well as business relationship coaching. And one of the things that I notice, especially with couples, is how disconnected they're becoming because they sit on the end of the couch and they use this thing all the time. But again, how shut down they are in their relationships because they're not open to learning new things. They're not open to learning new things with each other. They're constantly distracted. So they're biased through their technology and they're not even open to learning new things about how to be better in their relationships. Like, I can't tell you how many guys will spend more money on truck tires and hunting clothes than they will on healing their marriage. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to turn, again, I don't want to turn on my microphone. So we're becoming kind of desensitized, if you will, to solutions that are even going to make us better in what we do.
I'm
Yeah.
so I'm so fascinated. We talked a little bit yesterday about that, about what shows up and the learning. And I think about I've had kids since the dawn of time. I've been a mom now for 30 years, and I still have one left at home. And the difference between sending my kids to school 20 years ago with a backpack completely full of textbooks and things like that, and now my 15-year-old leaves with a Chromebook, right? It's like a Chromebook and maybe some
Mhm.
papers, and I think about how do we, I don't know if this is the right question, Jeff. It's just you're giving me a lot to think about. How do we walk back from some of that, right? When it is, in some cases, we have no choice, right? Like he doesn't pick up a book. Like, and a lot of people use Kindle now. Like you can see how much I love books. Like
Mhm.
I don't read on a Kindle. Like I love the feel of it.
Yeah, I've got my share of them too.
Whereas my kids are like, why? And I
Mhm.
said, to get you off the
Well, it's a
screen.
great, well, it's not just that. It's a great point. Okay. How many of you like read? You like to read? Is there anybody here who loves to read? Okay. My daughter she's a crazy reader. I like to read. I didn't really love to read. I learned how to read, like to appreciate reading when I started traveling a lot. I used to travel 2 to 3 weeks a month and do classes here and abroad. And when I was on that plane, I really didn't have much to do. Okay, because back then technology didn't exist. Like, doesn't it just crack you up that people get pissed when the internet on the airplane isn't working right? Like it's got to crack you. You're at 30,000 feet going 100, 700 miles an hour across the country. And, you're pissed because your signal on the internet is messed up. It cracks me up. But um, what is the value? How many of you like to read book? Like reading a book on this, it does not work for me. I've got to have it in my hands. I've got to feel, how many can relate to that? You've got to feel the book. Okay, and turn the pages. Yeah, it's a completely different experience than this. All right, and they've actually proven that retention through reading is actually better when you're using a book than it is when you're using technology, because this will also give you pop-ups and distractions.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah, I
all
think
kinds of things it's telling you.
when I do it, it is precisely for that reason. I want to be away from a screen. I'm in front of this screen, typically
Hmm.
anywhere between 10 and 13 hours a day. And I'm like, I need to be away from this square or
Right,
this square or any other square.
absolutely.
And those are square. I get it. They're rectangular. But it's like there's, like you said, there's no distraction. There's no blip, 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 blip as things come in.
Yes,
Right.
there's a physical experience with it too. You can feel the paper in the pages. You can see the words that are like they're written there in front of you instead of like presented on a screen. By the way, these things like are full of radiation and all kinds of other stuff like that. So, um, the other thing too is where's your information coming from? So I know that Selena, we said this was going to be a little bit of a sparring match, so I'll throw one out there is that Selena doesn't know that I know that she has like all these AI coaches. Okay. And I'm a coach and I've been a coach for the last 30 years. And it's kind of like my theory is always don't take advice from someone who doesn't have the result you want, because all they're really talking about is theory. So, I know people who get their relationship advice from AI, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm sure that AI can tell us all how to ride a bike. Okay, but will any of us know how to ride a bike? Probably not. Okay, where is AI getting its relationship information from? So there might be somebody who's been divorced 10 times sitting on the other end typing up relationship advice, and that's where AI is pulling it from and it's giving it to you. Okay, like people ask me, what are your qualifications for being, a relationship coach? Well, first one is that I've been in the mindset business and helping people with human behavior for the last 30 years. And I've been married and raised 3 kids, and now I've got 3 grandchildren with one on the way, and I'm watching them raise amazing kids. Okay, I've got a little experience here. Like I can tell everyone on this, if you're married or something like that, it is absolutely okay to feel like the sound of their breathing is driving you nuts. Okay. I can relate to that conversation. Okay. I totally can. But that is part of being married, and I can speak to that. How does an AI bot coach you in the nuances of relationships and what's going on in those specific moments and what to do when they get there? And if you haven't noticed, by the way, most of the relationship advice that's going on TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff, they're not giving you tools and things to be more effective in your communication. All right. They're telling you your symptoms and how right you are. If you're a man and your wife has become, she's not as intimate as she used to be, this is her fault and why. Like, how does that help you at all? So, kind of some of the places we're getting our information from, what is the information we're getting? And is it truly helping us to connect better? Or is it making us more distant from actually having a personal connection? And we might even want to ask why that's easier for us or why that's more important than actually getting face to face with people and having human connection.
So I'm gonna lob back
Lob back.
as we're sparring, because we had this conversation yesterday and I was sharing it with Casey this morning while she was driving back from LA. And I said, "Oh, I don't know how this call is going to go with Jeff today because he doesn't really agree with me." Because I explained to Jeff yesterday. So you guys that know me, you know how much I love technology and how much I use it every single day. Systems and processes are my love language. And the reason for that is because I use it to give me back time to be face to face on things like this. And so I explained to Jeff yesterday that I have this AI system running that is a task management thing, but it also reads all of my emails. And I asked it to score me and provide me feedback on my warmth level, because I'm a high D on the DISC assessment and I'm a high C. And so sometimes I don't come across very warm. I'm very direct, or I'm very quick to respond because I have a lot of emails I'm getting through each day. And so I've trained it to read it, and every day at 6:30 it gives me a report and tells me whether or not I was warm that day. Yesterday was a 35% warmth level, and I used the feedback to tell me how, and it gives me examples on how I might have responded differently, so that because I told it most real estate agents are a high D, high I. They want the warm and fuzzy, and sometimes Selena is not warm and fuzzy. I'm just very direct.
I just didn't get that. I just did not get that from you.
And I said, so I take the feedback. And yesterday, the examples it gave me were true, guys. It said, look, you responded to someone with 4 words in the sentence. And to me, I was like, but I responded, because to me, it's important that I responded. And I'm like, I don't want to forget anybody. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm responsive, because that is an expectation. I do have an expectation, Jeff, that I respond same day. That is an expectation set for me. And so when I do it, it's to hopefully show up better, right? For the people that I do communicate with regularly throughout the day. So Jeff was like, it's boundaries. I was like, and it is, but it's interesting because I think I don't use it to coach me in the sense that it's going to tell me about building relationship. I just recognize my own internal flaws, right? Even my kids, my husband will tell me the same thing. You're very direct. Sometimes it comes across as cutting, right? Like whenever you respond that way. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I be more warm and fuzzy? Like, so it's my warm and fuzzy meter.
Okay. I'm writing some notes here because I
was like, and here he's gonna lob it back at me.
Okay, so the challenge in what you're talking about is that I'm gonna say this 2 ways. Okay, I wish that I could control how people feel about things, because if I could, this world would be a completely different place. Okay. I have no control. People say this makes me feel, when you said that, it made me feel this. No, you chose to feel that. Okay. Now, with that does not give us permission to be jerks to everybody. Okay. So, yes, we can shape much better spaces in our communication where people can walk away with a better feeling of ourselves. Okay. So the first thing is you keep saying, I'm a high D. I heard that 3 times yesterday. I'm a high D. Okay. Where did you get that information?
A DISC assessment.
A DISC assessment. So a form of technology around personalities gave you, I'm a high D. Okay. And what did you do with that assessment?
Well, I use it and
Yes.
I teach it in several different ways to learn how to communicate better with people.
Okay. So because this is how a high D hears things, This is how I'm going to communicate with you.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, cool. Is that an effective tool? Absolutely. Does it help us to understand the primary behaviors? And we talked about this on the last call. Okay, is how we can communicate more effectively with different behavior styles. So does it serve us to understand those behavior styles? Yes. And we talked about, and we even gave out a free handout that would make that easier so that we could notice it and see it quickly. Like I love disc profiles. I love Enneagrams. They're amazing tools. Okay, but I don't have the time to sit, okay, here's Selena in front of me right now. First time I ever met her. Hey, Selena, can you fill out this disc profile for me? No, we can't do that. We need to be quicker than that. Okay. But the truth is one of the challenges that comes from this technology is we use it to brand ourselves and other people. And so when we brand ourselves or we brand other people in that thing, what we do is we move away from what's possible for other people and we start communicating with them specifically that way. And so typically when we get ingrained in that, number one, we use that as a way to describe ourselves. So I'm rough and tumble and I'm this and that because I'm high D. No, high D came from something that maybe you decided a long time ago, and that's all good. Okay, so I'm not taking away from it. It's good to understand and good to know. But is it good to use it as a brand? I say no, because what we now do is we cage ourselves in. I paint myself into a corner. Now, my question is where do people get what they know about us? Where do they get it from?
Conversation.
From us.
Yeah, from our relationship with you. So when our relationship is based in technology, we got to understand that people are going to receive whatever. So if I send you a text message right now and I say, "Can we talk?" Okay, what did you hear?
I get where you're coming from because some people that raises their anxiety significantly.
Right. Can we talk? When my wife says, "Can we talk?" I go like, "Oh gosh, here we go. What is this going to be?" Okay. Can we talk? That can be construed as someone's like, "Can we talk?" Oh yeah, I'd love to talk. It just really depends on where we're receiving it from. Okay. So your communication, especially when it comes from technology, lacks context, it lacks content. Okay. And the worst way to communicate is through what we call objective communication. It's everything that's on the surface. So, like, we could crash internet right now and I could be gone. All right. I'm on Starlink. I'm out in the sticks a little bit. I live 90 miles south of the Canadian border in the middle of the woods. Okay. So we could literally lose technology. That could interfere. Language could interfere. Personality could interfere. Social status could interfere. All kinds of things get in the way. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how do people get their experience of us is one way is what we show them or what we tell them. So immediately when she starts out with high D, where do you go? Okay, get ready. Here comes Selena. Okay. And what we don't do is we don't show up. Typically, when we buy into those things, we tend to stay in that style. Now, Selena, you and I do great because I power up too. I really have no problem. I've come from a control or an A-type personality style. That's kind of where my behavior generates from. I can tell you I decided that because there was a time in my life when I decided if I didn't take control, I was going to be in trouble. And so I had to take control of that situation and I applied that behavior unconsciously as a habit for a long time. So kind of going back to where we are, but where does it serve me to operate from sometimes? Not from that power position to actually bring it back down, connect with someone, empathy, compassion, empathy, compassion, those types of words, things that are going to help us connect better. So one of the reasons why I tell my clients that if you're stuck and struggling, because I believe stuck and struggling sucks, pick up the phone and call me and let's have a conversation. So do you see how I shift from my power into my compassion and literally giving time to people as opposed to, just shoot me a text message and I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
So what we also miss in that, like it's telling you that you need to be warmer today. Okay, well, maybe the situation I was communicating in didn't warrant me being warmer. In fact, maybe that day I had to set a boundary and I had to say, hey, we're not doing that. So the challenge with those things is I'm being coached in a direction without it necessarily having all the information. And what opinions, again, is it pulling from? Because even chat will tell you, be careful with this because it may not be accurate. So when we're coaching in person, and I do all my coaching well, I use technology, I use Zoom to enhance my personal connection with people. I used to just do all my coaching on a phone. And so I couldn't physically see my clients. And I changed that because I wanted to actually be with them. Does that make sense? Did I cover all those? So
Yeah.
people get what we give them, and that's how they form the relationship. When we're giving it mostly through technology, they're getting less of us and more of a robot. Like, let me ask you a question. How many of you know or don't know if I created this on chat or anything else, and I'm just sitting here spewing information to you? I might be really good at it, but how do you know whether this was my content and what I created, or is this what somebody else created and I'm just a good vomiter?
It's
Because,
valid.
yeah.
Someone told me a couple weeks ago, we were having a conversation about what we see on social, right, with
Mm-hmm.
people or even on stage, social or stage. And they said, do you
True.
realize that is all a production?
It can be.
It doesn't necessarily reflect their abilities, their
Mm-mm.
success, whether or not they've done it, but they can speak to it as though they had, and you're believing it. And it is just like you said, Jeff, it could have been all generated by chat, every
Yes.
last bit of it,
Every last word of it. Yes.
you know? And it's like, do you have, and so you're making me think this through, like, before you emulate someone, have you had an experience of them like this, like a relationship building experience to know whether or not that's a production or if it's real?
Yeah. I talk to people about my life and a lot of the things that I do, and those stories reflect, and they reflect back to the content of what we're talking about as well as the context. I have literally trained instructors. By the way, I trained, you guys might know Cortland Warren. I actually trained Cortland. Cortland was one of my students sitting in my classroom one day, and I said, looked at him and I said, you're going to be on my team. And I actually, it was, the whole story is hysterical. You can ask him about it one of these days if you hang out with Cortland. But I trained Cortland, okay, to do what he did. Cortland is he's a very what I call a contextual speaker. It means when he's speaking about, he knows about. Okay, so it's one of the things that makes him unique and different from most speakers. I could tell you another guy who used to sit in front of a room and tell stories about my life and tell people it was his life. So it was an act that he didn't really live. And the truth is that do we have a way to tell when people are being authentic? We do. Because not only do we have spoken communication, we have subjective communication, which is tied to our connection with people all over the place. And we always are receiving information. And so we have that unconscious connection. It's kind of like how a horse knows you don't know how to ride it, is because you probably don't know how to ride it. Okay. But that's through a subjective connection because horses don't go, hey, you don't know how to ride me. Okay, so when that's happening, keep in mind that where we are getting our relationship with people, so getting back to it, is formed by us. We're the ones who do that. And when we're using technology to do that, they get less of us. So the question, I think the big question is now how do we use our technology and our personal interactions so that not only are people getting the information, we can be more effective, we can reach more people, but at the same time, create greater connection.
So
So the
help.
question is number one, where am I not connecting with people? I would think, okay, where am I experiencing disconnect in my business? And instead of what's the technology solution to it, because the truth is the technology is easy. It really is. But I would say, Selena, if I was coaching you, what are the pieces of technology that I can get rid of that I don't really need? You know, like, see that stupid thing sitting right there? Okay. That is in my office. Okay. I have not used that thing. I can't remember the last time I used that thing. It's a scanner, it's a copier, but it's a fax machine. Okay. Now, with all of the great technology we have, how come all of you people in real estate are still using that? That's in my office because my wife uses it. I hate it here. I keep telling her, go put that in your office. I don't want it. And it's still sitting here. I hate it. It's just that. Yeah, it's a boat anchor to me. Why are we still using it?
Comfort.
Yeah,
feels like
somebody is unwilling to move into a place that works better than that. I mean, like you look at all that paper back there. Like, oh, she's got one back there. Debbie's got one back there in the corner. Yeah, she's got one. Okay.
It's about connecting to touch.
Okay, it could be if you're into that right there. But the truth is
When
that
I,
this is a piece of antiquated technology. Yes,
yeah,
we still use it. It still serves a purpose, right?
I only use mine when I show houses to buyers, so I can hand them paper like the spec sheets, literally.
Oh, I see. Okay, but
Yes,
okay, that's a
with
great way to
clients.
say I'm using technology to be more relational because I'm giving
Yes,
them something to hold, something they can look
but
at.
they can touch.
I love it. Okay. So
There's nothing else.
you use your printer just to print off sales sheets for houses.
Literally just to print off, so I can hand them something from me that it's something they get to keep.
They
That
keep it.
there's nothing right. They get to hold on to it. They get to touch it. They get to feel that connection because you don't get a lot of that with buyers or clients anymore.
I love it. Okay. So do you see how she's doing something different and actually using this boat anchor to be more relational? Yeah, it's something they have to take home, set on their counter. It might sit there for
Mhm.
3 weeks.
Yeah,
If you're a clutter person, it's
totally.
sitting there for 3
Yeah.
weeks. Okay,
Even we
cool.
still do it for listings too, where if we go to a listing, we will hand them like a folder with our information or leave them with things there because otherwise they get an email, they get this, they get that from all the other agents. They go, well, you actually left me with like, you gave me something
Yeah.
that held more value, even though this packet was the exact same thing that they got from somebody else from Chat GTP, same comp, same everything, but you actually printed it out, took your time to put it together, and then let me keep it.
Okay, so
It's
did you hear
it's
what she's saying is so what Lindsay is saying is Lindsay?
yeah.
Okay, what Lindsay is saying is that she's actually using an antiquated piece of technology to create value in her relationship with them.
Mhm.
Do you see how she's put the two together? It's not about I'm handing you a piece of paper. It's not about I'm using something that I could use differently. It's literally about so now she's putting her personal connection. What people get from her is what? She took extra time to
Mhm.
print out things and provide something for me that I take home. Not only that, but they took her home with them.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's something that's outside of something they're desensitized and they use it every day. So it's something that's sitting there. Like I've been looking at these. This is for Easter. These are invites from my church. Okay. These paper things. And I've got two of them left. They've been sitting on my desk. Okay. It's like, so it's the cool part is it's got all the Easter services. So I know which one I'm going to. I've picked it out now and I can see them without having to remember it. But my church actually does this to be more relational with people, give people something that now they know it came from you. So it's a part of my relationship with her now. Does that make sense? It's brilliant, actually. And it's the simplest, easiest thing to do. Yes. Now, what you could do is get there and go, well, like, oh, go to this app and turn to this, and you can put it on them. And that's another thing that technology does. Okay, is it takes the responsibility away from us and it puts it on somebody else. How many of you said, well, I sent you that email. Did you get my email? So, oh, you didn't. Okay, well, it's not me. I sent you an email. You're the one who didn't get the communication. So we can disassociate ourselves from responsibility with the communication to do that. So the other one, Selena, is boundaries, setting boundaries around your communication and the technology that you're using. How many of you are tired of sitting at a dinner table with your kids going like this all the time? Those were never allowed. How many of you are sending people, or what did she used to call that? Where you put somebody in, you put their information in, you put their buying information in, and then it emails them all these houses.
a drip campaign.
It's not she called it
Or
something else, a flash program or something like that.
A,
Does that make
a
sense?
listing cart, listing cart.
Yeah. Okay. I guess there's more names for it than
Yeah.
anything. But then she would rely on them to tell her the houses she wanted to see. So instead of really getting in and understanding her client and the nuance of her client, she would send them houses that she thought she wanted to see. So which houses typically get seen more than anything? Okay, it's kind of like a dating site. All right. So there's a news, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it. Okay. There is a new thing that goes on in online dating, and it's a part of our culture that's called 6, 6, and 6. Is anyone familiar with 6, 6, and 6? Okay, this is the new female dating criteria that a man must have a six-figure income, he must be 6 feet tall or taller, and he must have a 6 inch, you fill in the blank. Okay. Now, how many men in the world that are on dating sites actually meet this criteria? Not a lot. Okay. It's literally, I think the number I saw was it's only about 5%. Okay, I actually wanted to make a dating site called Benchwarmers, okay, because of this theory. All right. Because there's a lot of guys out there that aren't even getting an opportunity to date women anymore. Because is it swipe left that you say yes or swipe? I don't know, whatever it is. Whichever one you do to get rid of them. Okay, these guys get swiped right or whatever it is all the time. So the houses that probably are getting the most visibility are the ones that are staged properly and have great photography. But as a real estate agent, you might know this cool little ranchette that's got great bones and it fits exactly what they're looking for that they're never going to see because they're swiping right on it. I don't even want to look at it. So it's a place where technology is getting in our way. And what's happening is agents are getting so used to because of time. I mean, I know agents who literally do listing presentations that are on the computer. I have an agent that literally was trying to design a system where he did not have to ever meet with a client. I'm like, why would I do business with you? Let's like, seriously, like he would have someone who, an assistant who would go out and show them the listings. He would have someone who did all his paperwork. He literally tried to design the system, and I don't think he works in real estate anymore. So do you
Jeff,
see how like we're pushing everything into technology to make our lives easier? And look, I get it. We cannot, the only thing we can't generate more of is time. And our time is valuable. And it's why I 100% believe in technology. But there's also, we need more time. And I'll say it, I'll leave it with this. I kind of look at myself as the Jerry Maguire of coaching. Okay, I would rather have less clients who pay me well, and they do, and be able to give them the time required to hear what they're actually saying, hear and feel what they're actually experiencing, and be able to guide people in that manner rather than get it in a text message. That connection is important. We could talk about this for days, by the way.
I know. I feel like, okay, we need a third session with Jeff.
Okay.
Like, Jeff, I know that we're at the bottom of the hour. And guys, thank you guys for participating today. And I think, it's such an interesting conversation because I feel like we're often pulled, right? It's like embrace technology, get more clients,
Yes.
more business. And then it's like, but be relational. And we know, for those of you that don't know, we know with 100% certainty that the top lead source in the entire country for real estate agents is your SOI and your past clients. And that's because you've built a relationship with them already. And so like continue that going, continue that process. And business will just come to you organically as a result of staying in relationship with them. Jeff, thank you so much for your time today and for our little sparring moment. Like
You asked me yesterday if I had a giveaway. Okay, so I'll make this really simple. Okay. Yes and no. Okay, I always have a giveaway. Okay. I have on my website, there's a free discovery call. So if you actually want to have a conversation about this, you want to do that, just go to my website. It's jeffrogerscoaching.com. And there's buttons all over the place to book a free discovery call. You can see a little bit more about my story, of course, and my history and stuff like that. But if they do that, I usually give a 30-minute call. I'll give you a free hour if you really want to have a discussion about where your technology is and what you're doing with it and how to maybe create some boundaries around it. Give me a shout and I'll give you, you can just sign up for it there. I'll give you an hour.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
You're
guys.
welcome.
I hope that you all take this into consideration as I am as well. And you recognize that when we can be in communication and be in better relationship with people, we grow, not just our business, but we grow. as well. Have a great Friday. For anybody who wants to join, I am doing systems with Selena an hour from now. I know I'll see Debbie there. So anybody who needs to talk systems and processes, I'll see you there. Bye, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Selena.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.